Well, first you have to have a little introduction with the global dictator of all the cats in Russia, Vladimir the Cat Putin. And he's a pretty sly business partner, I can tell you that right now, because he gives me a lot of good ideas on his silver stuff, too. And let me say this. You know, everything in the markets is psychology. And the fact that most people have abandoned their positions now, that were the ardent silver pumpers, that they gotten totally dismal, and they're thinking, oh my God, this is it, it's never going to go up, and blah, blah, blah. Actually, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Now, I'm going to tell you how you could possibly maybe even get $95 potential silver for silver right now. But I'm not sure if this person would go along with this deal, but if I was this person, I would do that. But first, I just want to elaborate a little bit about investor panic first. You know, I'll give you the most stupid example of somebody blowing a lot of money on something that's worthless. You remember when Hostess was going out of business, or whatever they thought they're going out of business, and that was the end of Twinkies, you know, the American icon Twinkies. Twinkies were going for astronomical prices on eBay, like $1,000 or whatever the hell it is. Get your last box of Twinkies, you know, $1,000, $2,000. Crazy, because there wasn't going to be any more. There wasn't going to be enough to go around. It's going to be a collector's item. That's the same kind of stupid stuff that could happen with silver. It could. Not tomorrow, but it could. You know, I'll give you another example too, because you have to remember markets are psychology, and you know, when people panic, they panic, man. They panic. Man, they'll spend too much on something, or they'll spend too little. Right now, the fact that, you know, all the silver, ardent silver people out there are dismal, it's a good sign. The other thing is, if you remember back, well, you don't remember, but most people wouldn't remember, back in the 30s, they had H.G. Wells did the War of the Worlds with the Martians are invading the Earth and they're attacking, and they said it was a skit on the radio, right? They said it was a skit. Guess what? People, even though they said it was a skit, they heard a couple words and they panicked and they're jumping off of freaking roofs. That's why you can go that damn high. You know? So, actually, if you've been noticing, I always did put a lot of health videos out, but I'm probably going to start putting more car videos out. And I got to get back into that mode again. But I know a lot of stuff on that. I'm going to come up with some other cool stuff later on versus the standard junk. And because I think it's going to be more useful to a society that's going to have to be a little more hands-on. And, you know, as far as people that, you know, have the fluff jobs, they're not going to have that. There's not going to be as much of that stuff around anymore unless you're well interconnected with the banking system. But let me get on to this $95 potential silver stuff. I don't know if this person go along with it, but I would. I would. You know, I remember DVDs, right, going for $95. You remember Lindsey Williams talking back in September of 2011, early September 2011, about silver going up to $75 by the end of that year. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, it tanked down to 26. And it wound up being about 26. It went up to like 37, and it wound up being about 26 at the end of the year. And everybody was mad at him. But hey, how about this? You know, he might do this. You could ask him. I don't know if he'd do it or not, but, you know, I would if I was him. How about you trade in an ounce of silver for a DVD? That's $95, and you can recognize the capital gain. So if he's paid $40 for silver and you've spent too much, you'd have a $55 gain. You'd have to recognize it on your tax form, too, because that's the fair market value of the goods received. How's that for a bargain? Anyway. You know, just kidding, but I like throwing stuff out there like that, because it's amazing what people will bite on too. It is amazing. But you know, hey, if you have 5,000 ounces of silver, you know, you get 5,000 DVDs, right? Maybe he'll do that. I would. You know, and if you do that, you could talk to me, because I'll give you 3 DVDs for every ounce of silver you want to give me. That'd be fine, you know. Anyway. But I don't know if he's going to do that, but hey, that might be a way to get 95 for an ounce, right? Anyway, it's actually going to go up a lot more than that, though. Just believe it. It's not a matter of, looking at the charts, it's not a matter of, what the fundamental supply is. It's all psychology and panic. And there's an ulterior game going on behind this taper garbage. Because, every freaking 2 weeks or so, the major media totally changes the whole deal. First they're talking about Janet Yellen. Now, we know she's in, she's going to be the Fed chairman. But she's totally dead set against taper, what we knew about her before. Now, all of a sudden, the policy's changing. And they're talking that QE might be totally gone by before the end of spring. Before, not the beginning of spring, by the end of spring. That's what the major media is saying. But I'm saying is, the only thing that's holding up the markets right now, the equities, is QE. There's a lot of inside buying going on, either by the Fed directly or by the big banks. And all the banks out there are like apocalyptic zombie freaking banks, man. They're standing up only upon massive amounts of fusion of dollars from the Fed. The banks are all hollow shells, man. The biggest banks, the ones that got the most wealth, the ones that actually got 33% bigger in the last couple of years and all this type of stuff. The little banks are disappearing. It's all from the Fed. Think that's going to taper? No. The thing is, if it does taper, there's another end game going on then. They're looking at something's going to crash. Something's going to crash. Because even though it didn't happen just yet, what happened last time when even Ben Bernanke breathed taper, the markets all just tanked everywhere, didn't they? This time, nothing. They took it in stride. So what's the big deal? What's going on? I think it's going to be coming up in early 2014 when they try to iron out these budgets. And you're going to find out they're going to hit a stone wall. That you think it was an impasse, that was going to be a big impasse back in October, and the sky was going to fall then. Maybe it really will this time. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the method behind the madness too, right? Now, I got no faith in this other inside information guy, claims he always has that stuff, but I can tell you I can see what's going on myself. I can see what's going on. I'm not freaking piggybacking off anybody else's words or anything like that. I'm giving you my own straight scoop. And whenever I give my own straight scoop, it usually is a lot more accurate, or at least there's more to be considered there than, just copying what somebody else does. Because, I'm not playing that game at all. I'm not playing that game at all. I don't really pay attention to what the silver crowd does, but I know a lot of them are starting to backpedal on silver. That's a good sign, actually. That's a good sign. But don't expect the metals to go like, this. They're going to go like this, and then they're going to rock it up later on unexpectedly. Just like Twinkies. Twinkies don't, I'm not going to argue about the intrinsic value of silver versus Twinkies, but why did Hostess Twinkies go up so much? Panic. That's why silver can go up way more than it's worth. That's really what the hell it is. Hey, it's the only safety, it's the only thing out there, we're going to run out. And actually, it ain't going to be the big guys biting on silver when it gets really high. It's going to be the middle class. Because there isn't enough silver out there, man, to freaking have the big guys bite on to buy it up. There just isn't enough of it out there for them to get into it. They can possibly go into gold, but I'll tell you what, the biggest money, the billionaires are probably more go into, where it's going to actually, maybe it could be tech, but right now they're talking up tech right now. But I think it's going to be in an inflationary environment. It's going to be energy and food. Agriculture, food, and energy. See, the other thing is, gold just sits there like a rock. Yeah, it can go up and all this kind of crap, but the problem is, it's not you only get money, you only get cash for that stuff when you sell it. Whereas, when you're investing in energy and you actually have productive, either coal strip mines or whatever the hell you got out there, even if it's a windmill farm, I doubt that'll be the way, but say it was natural gas, fracking, and oil, that's a steady stream of revenue. And if there's inflation, oil's going to be going up in price a hell of a lot too. A lot. And agriculture, big time. You know what? A lot of people don't realize how many tax credits are involved in agriculture. You know what? They get a lot of tax credits. Loads of tax credits involved in agriculture. That's a pretty good business to be in, man. Actually, a lot of people ignore it because they think it's like, they think of it like the Beverly Hillbillies. It's not, highfalutin Wall Street, big bucks garbage. But actually, there's probably going to be a hell of a lot. Well, Jim Rogers says it, but I could see it for other reasons too. Because if there's going to be a lot of inflation, there's going to be a lot of energy, inflation. It's going to mainly hit not in the big ticket items like that people can do without or postpone buying, but in food and energy. That's where you're going to see it. And you know what? If you're the guy that controls the strings on that type of stuff, and people have to have food and energy. And if there's a lot of inflation out there, that's going to be a one must-have type of thing that people will have to spend their money on, and you can get that money in your pocket. So that's where I think a lot of the biggest wealth is going to be going into. And if it's a metal, it's going to be gold, because gold is the only one that's big enough where a lot of money can move into it. But I think actually palladium is going to be the big winner, because you know what? Palladium, I know silver's energy related too, but palladium is even more energy related, with a lot of high-tech systems out there, especially in the hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles. Oh, big time. I know silver is too, but you gotta remember palladium's far more rare than silver, and it gets used up every year. So, but just beware, investor panic, man. Investor panic, and when everybody's thinking it's bad, all these people were saying they were pumping it. Oh yeah, it's gonna go to the sky and all this kind of shit. I'm bullish on the metal, so I lean too much to the bullish side. But I realize, when you're freaking pumping this stuff up. But now that I see that a lot of them have caved in, it's a good sign. And that doesn't mean it's going to go up right away. I still, though, suspect that we're going to have a pretty good run up in the metals in 2014. And if it gets way ahead of itself, say silver busts through 50 in 2014, that's getting way ahead of itself, right? It may even go up to 72 or something. If it does that, it's going to come back down, because that ain't going to be the end. And I know there's going to be a million people out there saying, oh, it's going to be 500 or 1,000. Unfortunately, if it ever gets to be that high, I think it's going to be under, like, maybe not. I wouldn't think it's going to be the Middle East that's actually going to start the biggest war. If silver ever gets that high, I think we're going to have some serious problems in the nation. Whereas, you can actually see some of it coming up with China and their energy needs. That might be where it gets that damn high. That could be. Plus the investor panic type deal. But anyway, I'm chilling out, and like I said, I think I'm gonna start pumping out a lot more how-to videos on the cars, motorcycles, health videos, and things like that. And as this stuff starts going up, I'm going to let the pumpers take the ball, man. Bring it up as high as you want, because I'm going to say thank you. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have a little clip with Rocky Caesar Balboa, the cat up there on the top. He's up there by the ammo boxes, and he's chilling out. He's kind of like nervous, man. I can't pick him up. He claw me to death or some shit. Because he's nervous. He's not a mean cat, though. He's not mean. Yeah, and there's my other little buddy, Rocky Caesar Balboa. He's hiding out in the side. He don't like coming out. He gets nervous around people, but that's what he looks like. Anyway, he wants to say hi. Hi, how you doing, right, buddy? Right?